My parents were extremely happy when they found out they were expecting. I was their first child, and when they heard I was a girl, they decided to paint the walls of my room mint green. The crib where my grandma and my mother had slept as babies was set up for a safe and joyful start to my life. Soon after my birth, my parents discovered a few red patches on my face. It looked harmless. My father thought they were mosquito bites, but when the patches started to get bigger and my ears also started to hurt, the doctor advised us to see a specialist. It was confirmed after a few medical tests that I had neurofibromatosis, also known as NF1, a genetic terminal disorder that presents itself differently in every 1 of 3,000 people and leads to development of tumors on nerves, also called neurofibromin. These tumors can form anywhere on your body. In my case, there was a tumor in my ear. I could never have guessed all the difficulties my parents and I were yet to face. Before I could celebrate my second birthday, it was decided that the tumor would be removed. The operation was successful, but I had to accept that I would have a deformed ear for the rest of my life. An ear? More like a twisted ball of skin. Only once I got older did I fully understand what kind of consequences this would have. More patches appeared on my face when I was 10 years old. The patches quickly developed into bumps. It was so bad that I didn't want to go to school anymore. A tumor was discovered near my jaw, and I had to undergo a few more operations. I stayed hospitalized for weeks. My classmates had made me funny drawings that made me laugh. I wanted nothing more than to reunite and play with them again. The operation had a huge impact on my face. A piece of bone had been removed from the left side of my jaw, which meant that half my face was crooked, which led to my mouth drooping downwards, and this made speaking difficult. For months, I practiced with a speech therapist to improve my pronunciation. My left eyelid had also drooped, which made it look as if my eye was permanently closed. I was afraid of everything that could happen next. Despite the fact that my parents, the medical team, and the child psychologist had prepared me for the return to school, I was still dreading the moment where people would have to meet my new face. Will they still want to play with me? Are they not scared of me? Will they be too afraid to make eye contact? I was extremely insecure when I walked into the school gate with my mom. It was awful how everyone stared at me. The boys would make bets with each other on who would dare to kiss me. My father was furious and wanted to teach those boys a lesson, but I stopped him. It would only make things more difficult for me. I built my guard up so that no one could hurt me, but on the inside, I was broken. On the rare occasion I would get an invite, I refused to go to parties. Shopping, going out, and leaving the house were like a living nightmare. I kept crawling further into my shell and locked myself up in my bedroom. It was the only place where I felt safe. I became angry at the world. I tinted my bedroom windows so that I wouldn't have to see my own reflection. Every mirror needed to go. I could no longer bear my face. I began to lash out at my parents, who of course also had their own sadness to deal with my situation. But I refused to understand this. I wanted a new face and discussed with the neurologist and child psychologist how this could happen and what needed to be done. They said that it would be a complicated procedure, and despite all the cosmetic surgery, I would probably still be unsatisfied. They showed me pictures of people who had much worse than me. The child psychologist said, "Before you consider changing something about yourself, you need to learn to love yourself for who you are." She introduced me to a social worker, Lisa, an amazing woman who became an extremely important person in my life. Together with Lisa, I began working on myself. She helped me with accepting myself and taught me how to look at myself in a different light. She also encouraged me to do something with my passion for books. Reading was my biggest hobby as I spent most of my time alone and at home. I thought it would be fun to work in a library, and with Lisa's advice, I decided to apply for a course there. I had night lessons a couple times a week together with 5 other bookworms. During the first class, I decided to be upfront and honest about my illness. My course mates admired my bravery and never spoke about it anymore. They accepted me for who I was, and I enjoyed the time we spent together. I am 22 now, and for my face, I eventually decided to leave it the way it is. Thanks to all the good advice from Lisa, the medical specialists, and the loving support of my parents, I have been able to develop from a sad little girl with no self-esteem to a more outgoing and confident woman. I have learned that people should accept me for who I am, not for how I look. I don't isolate myself anymore and work 20 hours a week as an assistant at the local library. Life held up a mirror for me, and for the first time, I'm not afraid to look. I like the person I am.